Well, here we are, episode 4, Brockton Novellas. I was just thinking today, I miss my ma. God rest Maureen Kelleher. She was a lot of things. She was a sweetheart. She was very loving, very nice. Came to my house. She was notorious for stealing my friends. You'd come home and your friends would already be there. It was safe harbor. There was safe harbor on the Maureen Kelleher show. She turned me on early on to Patsy Cline and Elvis. But there's one thing my mother, one of her shortcomings, was cooking. It was always the same stuff. Canned green peas, pizza a lot. We had a lot of stuff like that. Many roast beef sandwiches and a lot of white cheese. There was one thing I would have all the time, which was, I always wanted a sandwich named after me, by the way, but this was a half sandwich. It wasn't a full sandwich, but it was called the Jackie's recipe, and what it was a piece of basically Wonder Bread. A piece of Wonder Bread with a piece of yellow American cheese, and you put it in the oven, and you let the cheese bubble over and harden until it got brown. You took it out. And that, my friend, was a Jackie's recipe. Looking back on it now, I don't think I had a burrito till I was 20 years old, till I was well out of the house. I didn't experience Mexican food. I mean, I dabbled in nachos. I flirted with nachos in the sense of I would take nacho chips and put cheese on top of them and then put them in the microwave. But I didn't have a real burrito until I moved to Western Massachusetts. But that's enough about that. But I bring it up because I want to talk about food. I want to talk about being 15. I want to talk about the fact that, in relationships, sometimes you just get tired. Sometimes you just need to, it's not like you want to leave a person, but you just need room. And at this point, I needed room. I was 15. Me and my parents and I, we had a good run. We had a great run. But I needed to explore what was out there. What were other parents doing? I found a synthesizer. We'd go to Amvets once in a while. Amvets was like one of these places you would go. It's like a thrift store, Amvets. It's over there, like going on the north side of Brockton. And I found a synthesizer. It was like, you'd go in there every once in a while, there'd be some like beat up golf clubs or some other horse shit, some old luggage, a lot of garbage nobody wanted. But on this particular day, I found a synthesizer. And had a manual with it too. Now, I didn't have a ton of musical experience, mind you, but I found this synthesizer. And it was one of those times like like when you just have an intuition. I think it's more of a female thing than a male thing. I don't know. That's something we could talk about too, like male intuition. It's always called women's intuition, isn't it? But I saw this synthesizer and it had the manual with it. And I was like, I gotta pull the trigger on this thing. I took it up to the register. I walked up there. I was a regular face at the Amvets. I go there all the time. And they had this thing for $40. And I told the woman behind the counter, I was like, you're way up in the air. I don't even think there's the manual was a little ripped up and this thing was a little dirty looking. I was like, let me give you $25 for this. I'll take it out of your hands. She looked at me like I had 5 heads. She was like, we're not on the street here. You can't just bargain with me. I held my breath. I waited a beat. I wanted this thing. I said, $30. Let me take this for $30. Let's go about our lives. I don't know why. There was a line starting to form in the back of me, too. There was always some weird people in Amvets. I guess I was one of them. But she accepted it. She accepted my $30. And I walked out with a brand new synthesizer. I got this thing home and I walked it into the house, and of course everybody was like, hey, look at Billy Joel. Hey, flock of seagulls, where you going with that thing? I didn't care. I could take all the shots they wanted. I went up in my room and I laid this manual out. The learning curve on this thing was insane. There was Chinese writing on it, let's put it that way. But I was determined. I wanted to know what all these buttons did. You know, I could see the volume and had a little beat thing on it. Had marimba, rap, rock. Had a whole bunch of different musical styles on it. A way to adjust the tempo. This thing was exciting. It was going to take a minute to figure this thing out. At that point, I had a job. I was 15. I was bussing tables over at a place called Kensington Manor. Kensington Manor was kind of a palatial, kind of old, kind of colonial-looking big building. You know, manor. It was a manor. It was white. It had the black shutters on it. The big stairway leading up where you could photograph a wedding. Had a little carport on the side of it. And upstairs there would, it was a white shirt kind of place. You would go there for, you do an Easter there or a Thanksgiving with your family. They could accommodate probably about 400 people upstairs. In the downstairs of Kensington Manor, if you went into the driveway and you drove around back, it was a glass door to the bottom, the bowels, we'll say, of Kensington Manor, where it had a big horseshoe bar. In any time of day, especially, in the summertime, you'd go into this bar and it would be so dimly lit, the sun would be beating on the cars outside. You could fry an egg off of the parking lot, off of the ground in the parking lot. But I was working there, and I was, I had my white shirt, my black slacks. This was one of the first jobs I had, just pouring waters for people, taking plates back, taking plates away, clearing tables. And I was working there. It was nice. But at home, I was, being around my parents, my fuse was getting short. I could see I needed out. I needed to see something different, I start to really learn the synthesizer. I stay in my room, but I'm not at work bussing tables over at the Kensington Manor or at school or trying to, make out with my girlfriend. I'm in my room and I am invested in this synthesizer. I recall the day when I learned how to play a simple chord progression. I could just do a little bit of C to G to a little D minor. And I figured out how to get the beat up on it. And I would just mess around with these little chord progressions and mess around with the beats on it. And it really took me out of myself. It was a fun time. I went over to Dick Johnson's in Brockton where the music store was. I didn't go in there much because I was not like a music guy, but I was going in there because I wanted to get a book. I wanted to get a book on piano chords. This is before you could just go on the internet and find anything. And I started to learn a couple more chords. And I've always, for some reason, I was okay with thinking about things and come as an idea man. I could come up with lyrics. I was hanging out with my buddy one day, and we were messing around skateboarding in back of this auto parts store. And I looked in the garbage, and there was this sign in there. There was some display signs. There was a display rack. I was going through the signs. I lifted up this one, and my friend tried to grab it from me. I grabbed it back. I was like, this is so cool. And it just said, Hot Zone. Hot Zone. I knew then that this was going to come in handy at some point. I'm going to have a music project, and it's going to be called Hot Zone. I got to use this name because I got the sign. I took this sign and I skateboarded back to my house. And this kind of even fueled the fire even more to get back on that synthesizer and mess around. I came in the house. I got myself a tonic and a little snack, and I went back up to my room that I shared with my brother. Jackie wasn't spending a lot of time at the house at that point. He was over at his girlfriend's house, his new girlfriend's house. He had just gotten his car. So I had the place to myself, which was really nice. And I'm digging into this manual, and I'm learning as much as I can about this thing. And I got the sign now. And then I started writing some lyrics, just some simple kind of stuff to go along with my little 3-chord progressions. And I got the beat behind it. And then I learned how to make the beat stop for a second and the beat come back in. And then I learned how to come into a chorus and outside of a chorus back into a verse. And I was moving along pretty good. I started writing songs. The Hot Zone demos have come back into my possession. Cassette tapes I had long since forgot. My first attempts at making music. I was going through the basement of 53 Augusta Ave, and in a box I found a pink boombox. An old Sanyo boombox my sister Katie had in her room. I would sneak in there and I would steal it. And I'd bring it to Jackie and I's room. And I would record myself. What I'm about to play you. This is a demo version of the Hot Zone song, Innocent Thrills. Just Hot Zone. This is take 4. Take 4 of the demo for Innocent Thrills. Take 4. Caramel-covered strawberries, eating a lobster on a balcony, Georgia or Beverly Hills. Innocent thrills. Innocent thrills. What I was trying to do subconsciously as I was putting this together, I wanted to, my vision at this time, there was bands like New Kids on the Block, and there was some other bands. It was like the first days of the boy bands. I didn't want to be like New Kids on the Block, nor did I want to be, I wasn't really a rap guy at that point. I wanted to sell myself as kind of the approachable guy, the guy that everybody liked. I didn't, for what I lacked in sex appeal, I wanted to make up in just likability. I wanted to be, most of all, I wasn't going for the fan base of girls. I was going more for the fan base of the adults, of parents. I wanted parents. I wanted the synthesizer to be a vehicle in order to impress parents so they would take me in and I could be a part of their lives. I wanted to be a tourist in other people's lives and their families. I wanted to see how other people ate. I wanted to see what their couches look like, what kind of animals they had, how they reacted with each other. And for some reason, I don't know why, I thought my way in was this synthesizer and being able to make music. But to get from point A to point B, how do I do this? I need to be able to expose myself with my music to people, and I need to go after my audience. My audience being the middle-aged crowd, I guess. One day when I was at work over at Kensington Manor, I went downstairs to get some ice. I went down there all the time. That's where we got ice from the bartender. It was a pain in the ass walking it back up the stairs. 2 5-gallon buckets of ice in both hands. And after a gross, sweaty night, you walk them back up the stairs. Our other ice machine had died. And I would go down there, and I noticed something about the bar. It was always the same people around that bar. Everyone, there'd be a few different people, but it was always kind of the same crowd. There was a guy named Carl, wore a baseball hat and a Barracuda jacket, and there was Marge, who was one of the bartenders there, and Dodd, who would sit at the very corner of the bar, and Terry with the fake leg, and he had a bloodshot face. He would hobble over to the jukebox and hobble over to the bathroom. He had a very small little car. He had an MG he used to drive, and I used to wonder, how does he fit in there with his fake leg? How does that all work? And there was Stacy Dicknose. She had a nose that looked like a penis, so everybody just called her Stacy Dicknose. But I was down there. It was during happy hour. I would always come into work over at the Kensington Manor around 1 o'clock. When we'd prep for the night, get all the tables ready. And we get our crowd, you get a little bit of the lunch crowd leaving, then you prep for the night. The place upstairs would be a dead zone by, say, 9:30. I'd be cleaning up my last table. I'd go to bring the buckets back downstairs and grab something else. It was always the same people. Carl, Marge, Dot, Terry with the fake leg and the bloodshot face, and Stacy Dicknose. And there'd be some other stragglers. It was always so quiet down there. It was a jukebox, but nobody even really played it. They would sit down there and everybody kind of sit separately. They were together with each other, but they were alone. And I got to talking to the bartender. Just general, how you doing, how's things? And I said, you guys you have entertainment here at all? And they said that, the previous owners, this was a big place. When acts would come in from, international acts would come in here after they played big shows, and sometimes they would play here, or they would come and drink, or there'd be a piano over on the side. So sometimes things did happen there, but it's been a long time. Those days have long past, told me. And I said, well, I would be interested in coming here and doing some of my new songs completely for free. You would not have to pay me. Maybe that's something you could, just during a happy hour on my days off. Is that something you think we could set up? I'd like to just try out some of my new material, and it's, what do we get to lose? You can just send me on my way if it's terrible. And she said, let me get back to you on that. And she went to the other side of the bar, and she poured Dot a drink. Let's give this a try. This sounds fun. This place could use a little change. Let's try Tuesday evening. Thank you so much. You're not going to regret this. I never put that silverware away so quick. I ran upstairs, I put all the silverware away, I got all the tables done, and I ran right back to my house, and I jumped behind that synthesizer. Brockton Novellas is written and produced by yours truly, Jimmy Kelleher. Incidental music and engineering by Ian Kelly, a.k.a. Ian St. Laurent. Stick around for Act 2. Remember to follow us on Apple Music. Give us a 5-star review. Tell us what you think. Thanks again for listening.